Let's go ahead and put the music in. What we're going to do here is we're going to start the music not at the beginning of the entire production, but right after this first shot. We'll bring the music in here. So let's go ahead and double click the music to load it into the source window. We're going to go ahead and set an endpoint at the very beginning of the music, and down on the timeline we're going to set an endpoint at the beginning of the first talking head, and then at the very end of the production, or out. Now, our audio, if we do it now, is going to overwrite our talking head audio. So we want to bring it down here and put it on the A3 track, which is clean. And let's go ahead and do an overwrite edit there. Okay. Now, again, let's just stretch this down a little bit so we can see the waveforms here, and let's take a listen to the music and the levels.
South Florida has received between 6 to 8 inches of rain already.
Let's listen to the music by itself so we can get an idea of just what it is on its own, and then we'll worry about it as a mix. Alright, the music's fairly loud here, so let's go ahead and look at our audio mixer here, and let's bring it down. Let's bring it down a good 8. Almost 9 here. 9. Now we're down here around -24. Let's bring it up just a little bit just so the NAT sound doesn't completely drown it out. So we're at -6 now. Let's take it off the solo and see how that's going to mix together with the rest of the production.
South Florida has received between 6 to 8 inches of rain already from the system, and it's possible we could see an additional 10 to 15 inches of rainfall.
I think the big thing that we'll be focused on here, obviously, as the tornadoes, but the big thing will be the flooding.
Big threat for most people in South Florida is the rain, but not on the West Coast. They'll certainly get the rain.
Okay, so we see some places here where we can probably, the music is softer here at the beginning. We might need to bring it up in this one little gap here. So let's go in and modify, let's customize this track header, and let's make sure that we have show our keyframes here, and we also have our track volume controls. So let's go here, and right here on this first mark, let's zoom in just a bit. And what we want to do is right where this person finishes talking, where there's this gap here, we're going to add a keyframe here, and we're going to do it as a track keyframe. Well, we can do it as a clip keyframe because we're going to add it. Hold down the control key and set 2 points, one at the cut point and one a little before. And we can come here and set one here and one slightly after, and then we can raise this up. And let's raise it up from -5. Let's bring it all the way to 0 here. Now let's see how that sounds.
And it's possible we could see an additional 10 to 15 inches of rainfall.
I think the big thing that we'll be focused on here.
Okay, again here, let's go down a little bit. That seems pretty good. And we'll set another point where this break happens. One right on the point where the talking stops, one right before, and then one right where the talking is going to come back in. And again, we'll raise this up to 0. See how we sound.
But the big thing will be the flooding.
Big threat for most people in South.
Now the music is a little bit loud altogether while this gentleman is talking. So let's go ahead and set some more points here. here. Hold down Control to set a P keyframe, and then another keyframe. And here we're going to bring it down. It's a little bit loud here. And let's put it at about -12, let's say. Now I'm holding down Control to get more control of it, and then here at the end, we'll bring it back up to 0 again. Pretty close, and let's hear this.
Big threat for most people in South Florida is the rain, but not on the West Coast.
It's maybe a little too low, so let's bring it up just a tad. Let's bring it up to -10.
Big threat for
Maybe let's go -8 there. There we go.
big threat for most people in South Florida is the rain, but not on the West Coast. They'll certainly get the rain, but the big threat there is the storm surge.
And then the final thing that we'll do here is we'll put a nice audio fade out on the end here, and all we got to do is just right click with the mouse and add the default transition, and we should get a nice dissolve there. Let's save the project. The backslash key, and let's give it one final listen.
South Florida has received between 6 to 8 inches of rain already from the system, and it's possible we could see an additional 10 to 15 inches of rainfall.
I think the big thing that we'll be focused on here, obviously, as the tornadoes, but the big thing will be the flooding.
Big threat for most people in South Florida is the rain, but not on the West Coast. They'll certainly get the rain, but the big threat there is the storm surge.
Okay, nicely done.